How to DPS as a Holy Priest. Ever since Blizzard buffed Holy Word Chastise, Holy Priests were given the ability to DPS at almost the level of a full DPS. But with its incredibly simple rotation, it can actually cause some people to do more damage in Holy than if they went Shadow. But in order to DPS, you need to follow a few very specific things. First off, Spirit, Mastery, and Hit are all dead stats to Holy. The perfect piece of gear for Holy DPS will have Int, Crit, and Haste. The other stats do absolutely nothing for your DPS. But if you must choose one of your dead stats to pick Spirit, because you can run out of mana in AoE intensive fights. Your stat priority is Int, Haste, Crit. Smite is your #1 damaging ability, and you need about 45% haste to get it down to 1 second, so there's no need to worry about hitting the haste cap. Next, you need the right talents. There are only 3 tiers of talents that affect Holy DPS. First off, pick Mindbender. The other 2 choices do nothing for your DPS. Next, it's a choice between Power Infusion and Twisted Fate. 9 times out of 10, Power Infusion is the better choice, but Twisted Fate, with its new buff from the patch 5.4, now procs at 35% health and below, where it used to be 20%. Now, as Holy DPS, there is really no reason you shouldn't be throwing down your Light Well off cooldown. That thing acts like an emergency healer. It can also proc Twisted Fate if it happens to heal a raid member who's below 35% health. If you expect your raid to be falling low quite often, then Twisted Fate might be the better choice. Or to be more specific, if you know you're going to proc it at least 30 seconds every 2 minutes, then and only then will it match Power Infusion and DPS. And I mean 30 seconds, not just 3 procs. If it procs over and over at the same time, it will just keep resetting the buff to 10 seconds. You need to pass 30 seconds of Twisted Fate buff to match the Power Infusion damage every 2 minutes. On progression fights and on add heavy fights, you might be able to do this no problem, but usually it's safer just to take Power Infusion. As for the final talent choice, take Halo. If you use it at its maximum range, it's better DPS than the other 2 choices. If you don't want to position yourself, just take Cascade. Now for glyphs, you need to take Glyph of Smite and Glyph of Holy Fire. These 2 glyphs will increase the damage of your smite by 20% and allow you to cast your spells from 40 yards away like a normal DPS. Smite is your #1 damaging ability, and 20% is a huge boost in its DPS. All other glyphs can be whatever you want. They changed the Light Well to work like the Light Spring glyph, so you no longer need to glyph your Light Well. For the rotation, first off, make sure you have Inner Fire and Holy Word Chastise up. Next, if you're in a raid, throw out the Light Well before the pull. Make a macro for Power Infusion and Mindbender to be cast at the same time. At 18% haste, Mindbender will hit 13 times, and below 18% he only hits 12 times. At 0 haste, he hits 11 times. If you're already above 18% haste, then pre-cast Mindbender, then use Power Infusion into a Halo. Power Infusion will make it hit 5% harder. Then Shadow Word Pain, Holy Fire, and then Smite. Once the target is below 20% health, add Shadow Word Death to your rotation. Your spell priority is Mindbender, Power Infusion, Halo, Shadow Word Death if below 20%, Shadow Word Pain, Holy Fire, and then Smite. If you're AoEing adds, the priority is just Halo and Mind Sear. Mind Sear hits like a truck with the chakra. Remember to keep using Mindbender and Power Infusion while AoEing, but it's safe to ignore everything else because of how hard Mind Sear hits.